Hi sources, welcome to another week of Melissa's Tabletop Talk. We are very early today and that's because we have a special guest. Right next to me is Daniel Priestley.
Hi.
Hi. So we are in a treat today because Daniel is going to give his talk about what it is like to be an entrepreneur, his take, and he's an author as well as a serial entrepreneur. So on to Daniel because he's much taller than me, so we can't squeeze into one frame.
Have you got any questions?
I've got loads of questions, and feel free to ask questions as well in the chat box. So Daniel, tell us what. Okay, we're back live. So Daniel, please tell me, how did you stumble on to becoming an entrepreneur in the first place?
So at the moment I've built a global business, and we have about 45 people globally. We run business accelerators for 2,000 different companies around the world, and I've also we've got an IT business, we've got a publishing business, and a media business. We're in the UK, Singapore, Australia, and USA. But I actually started as an entrepreneur when I was about 10 years old.
10.
So I started by running garage sales. Some of the family things were damaged, and I cleaned them and fixed them and put them into a garage sale. I went to all the neighbours and I decided...
Very entrepreneurial,
yeah,
definitely.
I went to the neighbours, I did 50-50 joint ventures with the neighbours.
50-50.
Mm-hmm. And then I put on the garage sale and people came by, and I sold everything, and I got half and the neighbours got half.
Nice.
And I ended up, I remember, with about $300, which in 1991...
That's good money.
It was good money. It was enough for a bike and a Sega Mega System.
Yep.
And...
things we all children would like. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. And then we basically went through my teenage years. I ran discos, and then older teen, I was running nightclub parties, huge nightclub parties with about 1,000 people, making about $10,000 per night at about 18.
Wow.
When we would do those.
What was I doing when I was 18?
You were probably going to my nightclub parties.
No, I've got very strict parents, so yeah. That's the thing, the next question that I have. Because in Singapore, I'm not sure about the current generation, but my parents, they were pretty strict. And it's not like they didn't encourage the entrepreneurship, but they were always teaching us about being safe. And, any money that we have, they would talk about, keeping it in the bank. So do you think that has changed nowadays, or what's your take on it?
Well, look, I'm not against being safe, and I'm not against having a job and getting a good job. I think there's no point forcing yourself to be an entrepreneur unless you've got a genuine calling for being an entrepreneur and you've got something you want to do. I also believe that it's not one or the other. So I think a lot of people have it in their mind that they have to either become a founder who starts a brand new business, or they work for a big corporate. And actually, joining an entrepreneurial team is lots of fun and has lots of rewards and lots of flexibility, and being part of an entrepreneurial company can be just as, if not more fun than starting one. But look, I think one of the things that people have to realise these days is that a corporate job is not as safe as it once was. So it used to be that a corporate job was an incredibly safe place to work. And if a parent wants to encourage their kids to be safe these days, they really have to encourage their kids to be entrepreneurial, because the safest thing you can do is be someone who can spot opportunities and who can get resourceful and organise investors and get things done. And if you've got those skills to sell things, market things, identify opportunities, those are very valuable skills to have. And actually that makes you more safe in today's economy.
That is true. So Daniel is here today talking about surfing the entrepreneurial waves. I thought it was really, really insightful, and I invited 4 of my friends, and they also said that it was a really, really good talk, so thank you for that. But for our viewers who obviously did not join us today, what were you doing? Could you just give them a little bit of a taste of what you've mentioned to us today?
Yeah, so the day was all about becoming a key person of influence. I know the sign is not wrong, it's actually the mirror image. But becoming a key person of influence is an important thing for anyone to do, because in every industry there are key people of influence whose names come up in conversation, they attract more opportunity, they earn more money, they have more fun, and it's a very small group of people who really position themselves as a key person of influence. And there's a different set of skills that you need. So if you're a photographer, then the set of skills that you need, is understanding how the camera equipment works and understanding how to work with the client, all of those photographic skills. But there comes a point where having more and more and more of those skills doesn't make you a more highly paid photographer. There comes a point where having a personal brand and being known, liked, trusted, having products in the market, winning awards, creating, partnerships, that's actually what makes you a more highly paid photographer. So we talk about 5 things today, which was number 1, how do you pitch what you do to sound different to everyone else and to sound more valuable than everyone else? How do you publish great content that people want to read and people find from all over the world? How do you turn what you know into different products? And we talked about 4 different types of products that are very effective. How do you build a profile so that people have already heard of you before you even meet them? And then how do you do partnerships with companies that are much bigger than you are, and that generate a lot of business and give you more capacity? So we talked about all those 5 things today. Talked about how that progresses you through an entrepreneurial journey and how to build digital assets that support the ongoing growth of the business.
Yeah. So there was one part about the digital assets you were talking about, registering like your trademarks and copyrights. So is that really necessary? Because some of our mentors have actually told us that that's not important. It's more important to get your product and your services out to market, because if by the time you create all the IP assets in the registration process, you would have really lost the advantage over your competitors who would have already taken the product out. So what is your take on that?
So I would agree with that, depending on the size of business that you want to build. So if you want to build a small lifestyle business, then there's a very good chance that no big company is going to sue you. They might tell you that you've infringed their copyright and they might tell you to stop. Occasionally, if you use someone's image or you use someone's copyrighted materials, or if you infringe a trademark, they will actually sue you. So it's worth at least doing some searches to make sure that the names and the product names you've come up with don't infringe on anyone's trademarks. Even if you're not going to trademark yourself, you want to make sure you're not stepping on anyone else's toes. But if you want to build a big business that's valuable and you're going to sell it for a lot of money, you're going to have an exit, at some point you do have to protect your intellectual property, because the big company that's going to come along and buy your company for $20 million, they don't want to buy a company that doesn't have access and ownership of its intellectual property. So it really depends on what size business you want to build.
Okay. So this question is probably for those who are just really starting out, or they're just thinking about starting their entrepreneurship, because I do monthly networking meetings, and one person said that he's really thinking about being an entrepreneur, but what's holding him back is simply money. He's got an idea, but that's the only thing that's holding him back. And I think a lot of potential entrepreneurs in the world has that problem. They are wondering how much is enough before I really start my business, or should they start it as a sideline, or what is your advice to these people?
One of the best things I think people can do, and it sounds really old school, but when you've got a business idea, create a brochure, a beautifully designed brochure with a registration of interest form that includes putting down a deposit on whatever it is that you do.
Okay.
All right? Now, even if you don't take the money, even if you don't secure the deposit, if you go to an investor and you say, I have $45,000 worth of business already signed up, but I need 20 grand in order to get started so I can deliver it, it's very easy to get the 20 grand. Now, I see so many young entrepreneurs, they want to immediately create a website, they want to immediately create all the cool stuff, and the last thing they want to do is go sit face to face with someone in a coffee, talk them through a physical brochure and see if they'll pre-register. No technology required, one-on-one, selling the idea, listening directly to the customer feedback. The best entrepreneurs, and I've worked with the best entrepreneurs, even today in the world of technology, before they invest anything in lines of code or design or websites or any of that sort of stuff, they get a clipboard and they walk out on the street, they go find some people in their market and they try and sell to them based on a brochure.
So it's proof of idea that you're saying, right? It's a proof of idea, proof of concept, and get it out into test what your product and service is about.
So no one wants to invest in an idea. Ideas are fundamentally worthless. Everyone's got ideas. It's not special. It's not cool. even if you can see it so clearly in your head, no one else cares.
Agreed.
And you're a million miles from being able to return an investor any money. What people do care about is that you've got pre-sales. Even if you sign people up for a 2017 delivery, look at what Tesla just did. Tesla created 3 prototype cars, the Model 3,
Yeah.
only 3. They then created a one-page landing page that allowed people to put down a $1,000 deposit for a car that will not be available until 2018. And they sold 500,000 cars based upon a video, 3 prototypes that no one's actually touched, which probably could have been held together with masking tape, and a one-page website. They've made billions of dollars worth of sales. Now, what they've done is they've proven that 500,000 people want that car, and now they have no problem going to the market and getting the money to build the cars. So there's no one better at entrepreneurship than Elon Musk on the planet right now. If Elon Musk does it that way, then this is the way to do it.
That's cool. So earlier on in the talk, you were saying that you know a lot of investors who are there's a lot of wealth created in the world, and investors are just looking for places to invest their money. So where are these investors? Because when you said that, my business acquaintance was sitting next to me and was like, are you sure? Because he's a life coach. He coaches businesses as well. And it's something that, is it area specific, geographically specific, but here in Singapore, we are finding it really tough to get investors to come in and buy in and you say that here's like $1 million for you to develop your stuff.
Yeah. So it comes down to the stage of investment. So every entrepreneur dreams that someone will just drop money in their lap. And
I'm one.
And unfortunately it doesn't work like that. It's kind of like saying I've got an idea to buy a house. Can you please just give me all the money that I need to buy a house? There's loads of banks that have money to lend, but they need you to have a deposit. They need you to know exactly which house you're going to buy. They need you to have a pre-contract on that house so you've secured it. And then when you go to them and say, I need the finance for this particular property and here's my deposit and here's the amount that I need, they analyse the deal and then they approve the finance. Very similar with investment for a business. They want to see that you've already got traction, you've probably already got sales, you've already got something happening in the market. They want to start small. Most investors want to be able to invest small amounts, like 50,000 Sing at the most, in order to see if they can get a return on that. And then they might want to invest 250,000. Here's the thing, consider Facebook. So Facebook is one of the examples people use about, they invested into the idea. They didn't invest into the idea. So Peter Thiel was the first investor into Facebook. He gave them $500,000 as a loan that had to be repaid back, or he could convert it into shares if he wanted to. Now, what's interesting is how many users do you think Facebook had when they got a loan for $500,000, a convertible loan for $500,000?
I'm guessing at least 20,000.
They had 700,000 members. So they built a business to 700,000 members. Now consider, if we were in this room and there was someone in the room who had 700,000 members using their website, do you think it would be hard to get investment these days?
True.
It would be so easy, right? So everyone says, Facebook got investment early on. Yeah, early on compared to where they are now. But in most rooms, Facebook would be one of the biggest businesses in the room before it got investment.
I see. That is true. And hi Edmund, he just joined in, and whoever else just joined in, say hi. We are live, so I will have to repeat. We have a very special interview today with Daniel Priestley because he's not in town all the time. So Caleb is at the background laughing. Maybe we'll interview him next week, I'm hoping. He's ignoring me now. So, hi Edmund. So, those who are watching us live right now, we are having a very rare interview with Daniel Priestley, who's an author and serial entrepreneur. I just finished his talk about surfing the entrepreneurial waves. And so, if you have any questions or about being an entrepreneur, he's the right person to ask. So rare to have him. Yeah. So, we'll do just one last question, which is, just summarize, if you are an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur, what is the biggest advice you would give them?
Well, the biggest advice I give a budding entrepreneur is that a huge part of success is pitching. So there's selling and there's pitching. Selling is when you have something that already exists and people can see it, touch it, experiment with it, and then it just needs to be sold. Pitching is when you're actually pitching an idea, and that means you're getting people to agree to something in the future and you juggle it into existence. You have to start with a really awesome pitch. Pitching is an art form, and essentially for entrepreneurs, you get what you pitch for, and you have to get really, really good at pitching your business idea.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Yes, I've got a lot of work because after today, he's got like road maps, heat maps, and I've got a lot of work. So stay tuned. Next week, we'll be back to 8:30 p.m. Join us for Melissa's Tabletop Talk. That's all for today. See you. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Daniel.